chart of Oxy, you can see the stock has been staying below this 8 EMA for a while. The stock has been downtrending since the 70-75 level in April of this year and sold off all the way down to $60. So if you draw a trend line here, you can see that this is a huge downtrend on the daily chart. Now, what I mean by a downtrend break is obviously when you have a chart that's in a downtrend on the daily chart for this is 2 months straight. Now suddenly you finally have a gap up and the stock is now breaking above the downtrend. So this is what I mean by a downtrend break. This is a chart pattern for a very specific long strategy that one of my coaches in the Humble Trader community developed. He calls this the backside long strategy. This is developed by Coach Adam. So Adam uses this chart pattern for day trades and swing trades. Essentially, when the stock has stayed in a downtrend like you see over here for a long time, the first day or the second day, consecutive day, you see a gap up, and that's where he'll take the entry, hence breaking above the long-term downtrend. And once again, this tends to be a very good long entry for day trade and swing trade. And you can see his thought process over here. So currently he's swinging the stock Oxy. He took the long with the option side. So he's using a lot less capital than normal, not buying the shares like I do. But he took the options for Oxy. He took them here and then they scaled up some of it. But I think the idea is that they'll write it into 64, 65. So this is a swing trade that he's been taking. And he took it on the first gap up day over here. Once again, this downtrend break chart pattern is one of the only ones that I will look at and take the trade based on simply the pattern because it's very clean and the success rate is really high. I don't see this as vague as all the other ones we talked about earlier, like cup and handles, double bottom, double top, etc. Adam was previously interviewed in the Humble Traders podcast as well. He specializes in options trading for large cap stocks, including the SPY, as well as trading futures. His one-on-one strategy mentorship program is now open for application once again. The feedback from our members for his private mentorship sessions have been very amazing so far. Space is very limited because it is one-on-one, so make sure to check it out with a link down below. I know we covered a lot in this video so far, but we must talk about my personal favorite trading indicators. As you probably already know by now from a lot of my YouTube videos, I'm a price action oriented trader. Yes, I do trade momentum, but no, I do not rely on most conventional indicators. I don't use any of the fancy indicators that you guys have, like the RSI, the MACD, the Bollinger Bands, or the Ichimoku clouds. That's the pretty one. I really like that one. It looks really pretty, but I don't use it. Because I find most indicators to be lagging, right? These are all moving indicators. If you're using that as a confirmation for entry, I find that my entry's usually late. And that's why I prefer to just use price action and candlesticks. But as promised earlier in the video, I've recently added a new indicator for both day trading and swing trading. And that is the 8 EMA pair. So when it comes to day trading, I'll pair the 8 EMA with VWAP indicator. So on the screen over here, you can see a chart of my trend join long setup. Going back to what we talked about earlier, a lot of the trend join long setups, when the stocks are breaking above recent all-time highs, sometimes when the trend is so strong, on the 5 minutes, as you can see, it doesn't really pull back to VWAP. You can see that here it did pull back to VWAP, and that's great, but sometimes they simply don't. So that's where I use the 8 EMA, this blue line intraday here, as my entry point whenever I see a stock is trending so strong that I cannot find the entry. So I'll use this 8 EMA as a guide to see whether the momentum is staying strong. If I use as an entry, I'll see if the stock is riding along the 8 EMA on the 5-minute chart. You can see the stock is holding up well above the blue line here and steadily go up higher and then sell into the breakouts. This is an indicator introduced to me by my friend Keith, who was previously on the podcast as well, and it's a very useful momentum indicator. And I will use the same for swing trading as well. As you learned probably from my swing trading crash course videos, you know that I like to swing trade stocks that are above the daily SMA. You can see this purple line is the daily 200